This is Ikki Kurogane, a man who has just returned from jogging in his apartment, and inadvertently walks in on a half-naked girl changing in his room, Stella Vermillion. When Ikki sees Stella half-naked, he wants to return the favor by doing the same, but he gets slapped. After the incident, Academy Director, Kurono Shinguji, summons Ikki and Stella. Ikki tries to explain and apologize to Stella for what he did previously. Soon after, Kurono announces that Ikki and Stella will be roommates. A famous princess, A-rank blazer, shares a room with the school's worst man, F-rank blazer. Since they have to accept the fact that they're roommates, Stella sets 3 house rules for Ikki: don't talk to her, don't open his eyes, and don't breathe. Ikki objects to all of the rules, and ends up arguing with Stella. Kurono, suddenly, comes up with a solution for them: a mock battle at the training field. Stella changes her rules so that the loser has to obey the winner for the rest of their lives. Despite the disadvantages of his low rank, Ikki accepts, stating that he must work hard in order to win the 7-Star Sword Art Festival. When Stella enters the stage, she asks Ikki to surrender, because she knows that a hard-working person will not be able to defeat a talented person like her. Unfortunately, Ikki rejects her suggestion. When the mock battle begins, Stella uses her Dragon Breath attack on Ikki, but Ikki chooses to defend himself. Stella keeps wielding her Dragon Breath sword stronger and stronger. Suddenly, Ikki demonstrates strong fighting abilities and memorizes Stella's technique, which he employs against her through his Blade Steel technique. Stella appears surprised that Ikki knows all of her technique movements. After being hit by her own technique movement, Stella suddenly activates her noble art, Calyusarisho Salamander, to defeat Ikki. When Stella shoots her salamander, Ikki counters Stella's noble art with his own noble art, Ito Shura, which increases his speed and strength. When Stella's wide open, Ikki uses his noble art to defeat Stella and wins the match. Unfortunately, in the end, Ikki collapses from exhaustion. After the mock battle ends, Kurono visits Stella during her recovery. Stella begins to question Kurono about Ikki's powerful strength. Kurono explains that Stella's swordplay and movement are weak compared to Ikki's hard work and training. So, Kurono recommends that Stella follow Ikki's style so she can improve. When Stella returns to the apartment, she approaches Ikki, but he is still sleeping from the mock battle in which he expended all of his energy. Ikki awakens when Stella is captivated by his muscular body, and Stella hits her head. Stella then apologizes to Ikki for her behavior and admits she has lost. Unfortunately, Ikki reminds her of their agreement, which requires the loser to obey the winner from now on. Stella must be Ikki's roommate for Ikki's first order. The next day, Ikki's younger sister, Shizuku Kurogane, whom he hasn't seen in 4 years, arrives at Heigun Academy as a new student. Ikki and Stella learn about the 7-Star Sword Art Festival selection match from their teacher, Yuri Oriki, in class. Starting next week, all students will have a match, and only the top 6 winners will be chosen to represent the school. When Ikki and Stella walk together after class, they meet Shizuku, who surprises them by kissing Ikki on the mouth. When Stella notices Ikki and Shizuku kissing as siblings, she separates them and admits that Ikki is her master and servant. As a result, Stella and Shizuku fight over the former's relationship with Ikki. Stella and Shizuku are being punished for causing a total mess. Shizuku tries to warn Stella about her brother, accidentally revealing that the Kurogane family treated Ikki as if he didn't exist. The next evening, Shizuku meets her roommate, Nagi Irijuan, also known as Alice. Meanwhile, Stella approaches Ikki and asks about what Shizuku said. So, Ikki tells Stella that he was born without talent into a family of great blazers. As a result of his family's neglect, Ikki ran away and became lost in a blizzard before being rescued by his great-grandfather, Ryoma Kurogane, who encouraged him to believe in himself. Following that, Ikki worked hard to follow Ryoma and was accepted into the academy. Unfortunately, when the Kurogane family found out, they put pressure on the school, which was under the previous academy director at the time, to create a set of class requirements that prevented Ikki from graduating. When Kurono became the new academy director, Kurono was also pressured as a result, but Ikki stated that his constant harassment would never end. After they have trained together, Stella attempts to ask Ikki out on a date. Unfortunately, their conversation gets interrupted by Shizuku's text message inviting Ikki to go shopping with her. When Ikki accepts Shizuku's proposal, Stella is shocked and decides to accompany him. Shizuku invites Alice to accompany the three of them on their shopping trip. Stella and Shizuku spend the entire journey competing for Ikki's attention, with Shizuku seemingly winning every time. As the four split up to use the restrooms, the mall is suddenly taken hostage by a group of armed men led by a blazer named Bisho, who demands a large ransom in exchange for the release of the hostages. So, Kurono authorizes Ikki, Stella, Shizuku, and Alice to use their devices to attack the assailants. When Stella tries to fight Bisho, he uses his judgment ring to defeat her. Because Stella tries to help the hostages, Bisho forces her to undress in exchange for the hostages' freedom. Shizuku takes advantage of Stella being forced naked by creating a water magical barrier to protect the hostages. Ikki appears and uses his Ito Shura's power to cut Bisho's left arm, preventing him from using Judgment Ring, while Stella eliminates the entire gunman. When one of the gunmen disguises himself as a hostage and intends to murder the hostage, another blazer, Shizuya Kirihara, arrives and subdues her. Kirihara then reveals that Ikki had a previous match against him but escaped. Kirihara also asks that Ikki open his email, in which he states that Kirihara will be Ikki's first opponent in the selection match. The following day, Stella, Shizuku, and Alice easily defeated their opponents in the selection match. Meanwhile, Ikki begins studying Kirihara's noble art, Area Invisible, which renders him invisible and makes detecting him with the other senses difficult. Ikki unexpectedly runs into Alice and tells her about his match against Kirihara. Kirihara had been harassing Ikki with his device during the previous school year, when the Kurogane family still had influence over the academy's superiors. Ikki had refused to fight back, believing it would be used as an excuse to expel him. Sadly, it didn't work. In the following match, Kirihara begins by activating his noble art, which covers the battlefield in an illusory forest. Ikki initially determines Kirihara's location by observing the visible arrows he fires. Because Ikki is aware of Kirihara's technique, he employs a new, improved technique that allows his arrows to become invisible, injuring Ikki's body. While attacking Ikki's body, Kirihara mocks him by saying that he must win the festival in order to graduate. Because of that statement, the entire audience laughs, but Stella stands up for Ikki and encourages him to keep fighting. Ikki begins to use Ito Shura to pinpoint his location and strike all of Kirihara's attacks, using everything he's learned about Kirihara's previous attacks. When Ikki unleashes his final showdown, Kirihara is unable to escape, and his area illusion is destroyed. Ikki's sword almost hit Kirihara, but he collapsed from shock. So Ikki wins the battle, but soon collapses from exhaustion. Ikki awakens in the hospital after seeing Stella fall asleep while waiting for him. When Stella awakens, Ikki unexpectedly confesses his feelings for her. Stella, initially embarrassed by Ikki's confession, asks him to close his eyes and kisses his cheek. The two of them admit their feelings and promise to meet and win at the festival's final match. 2 weeks have passed since Ikki's battle with Kirihara, but Ikki has easily progressed through the successive matches, quickly losing his school nickname of the worst one and gaining the new nickname of another one. Ikki becomes popular among the other students and volunteers to mentor them in perfecting their strength using what he learned about swordsmanship, while Stella becomes frustrated because Ikki hasn't paid enough attention to her since they started dating. Later, Ikki takes Stella, Shizuku, Alice, and his students to the local swimming pool for more practice. After completing the training, Shizuku and Alice discuss Shizuku's feelings for Ikki, despite their biological relationship. Alice encourages Shizuku and believes she can win Ikki's heart, despite the fact that they are siblings. Meanwhile, Stella and her classmate, Kagami Kuzukabe, discuss Stella's love relationship with Ikki. Kuzukabe believes Ikki still loves her, especially her swimsuit. It's just that Stella doesn't do anything for Ikki. So, Kuzukabe decides to call Ikki for Stella. When Stella and Ikki talk, they are fighting after Stella reveals her false idea that Ikki no longer likes her, which Ikki quickly denies. After the two have calmed down and resolved their issue, Ikki suggests that they both say what they want to do right now with each other, and Stella agrees. When the two of them want to kiss, they do so happily. On the way back, Ikki and Stella discover that their next opponents will be student council members, Tamura and Seijo. Unfortunately for them, Tamura and Seijo cannot overcome Ikki and Stella's strengths. As a result, Ikki and Stella easily win the selection matches. After the match, Ikki notices that he is being stalked for a week by a female student, who eventually identifies herself as Ayase Ayatsuji, the daughter of Kaito Ayatsuji, a famous swordsman. Kaito had been hoping to ask Ikki to help her improve her swordsmanship, but was unable to approach him directly because of her shyness. Ikki agrees to help Kaito to achieve her dream to follow in her father's footsteps. During training, Ikki discovers that Ayase's problem is her impossible imitation of her father's swordsman style. Ikki then suggests that because Ayase is now completely committed to imitating her father's style and cannot use any other technique, she must adjust her position by understanding her anatomy. With this advice in mind, Ayase easily lands a hit on Ikki. While accompanying Ikki and Ayase home, Stella asks Shizuku if she is jealous of Ayase, and she says no. Shizuku doesn't mind Ikki, as long as he's satisfied to do what he wants. Shizuku also hopes that Stella will always look after Ikki and never betray him as Ikki's partner. So, at night, Stella expresses her concerns about Ikki and Ayase. But Ikki asks Stella to believe him when he says he only likes her and no other girls. When Ayase invites Ikki and Stella to dinner, they are unexpectedly joined by Kurado Kurashiki, a blazer who knows Ayase and despises swordsmen. Kurado begins harassing Ayase, and then injures Ikki for standing up for her. Kurado spits in Ikki's face and leaves the cafe because he never fights back and always smiles. Not long after, they are approached by Yudokata Misogi and Kanata Todokobra, members of the Heigun Academy Student Council, who commend Ikki for not retaliating against Kurado, because he's previously the top 8 of the 7-Star Sword Art Festival. As they walk back home, Ikki and Ayase are informed that their next festival opponents will be each other. Since that, Ayase never comes to Ikki's training but informs him to meet her at the school rooftop. When Ikki meets Ayase on the rooftop, she jumps off the building. Ikki shocks and uses his Ito Shura to save her. When Ikki successfully grabs her, they jump to the pool to avoid the ground. Soon after the rescue, Ayase reveals that she intended to prevent Ikki from using his Ito Shura during the match, because he can only use it once every 24 hours, and 10 hours from now, the match will be starting. Because Ikki is weak and exhausted, he manages to return to his room, where Stella, who is having a perverted dream, awakens and assists Ikki. The next morning, Ikki awakens and is asked by Kurono about the previous night's incident. Kurono also discusses Ayase's past, in which her father was defeated by Kurado and her homeland was taken from him. As a result, Ayase wishes to compete in the 7-Star Sword Art Festival in order to avenge Kurono. When the time comes, Ikki and Ayase enter the battlefield, but Ikki isn't happy about what she did the night before. When the battle begins, Ikki jumps to attack Ayase, but her noble artist, Hizume, scratches him without wielding her sword. Ikki quickly realizes that Ayase has set up traps on the battlefield before the match even begins. Ikki, who understands why Ayase is so determined, still wishes to assist her in regaining her pride. Despite taking significant damage, Ikki recovers stronger by avoiding Ayase's trap attack with his perfect vision. When Ayase begins to shake, she thrusts her sword and strikes the stage with a powerful blow. Unfortunately, Ikki survives the blow and employs his secret sword power, Shinkero. Ikki doesn't strike Ayase with his sword, but rather drains all of her strength. As a result, Ayase surrenders and Ikki glories. Finally, Ikki offers his assistance in regaining what Ayase has previously lost. The next day, Ikki, Stella, and Ayase visit Ayase's family dojo to meet Kurashiki. When they arrive at the dojo, Ikki challenges Kurashiki to a duel in order to reclaim the dojo. Kurashiki appears uninterested in fighting at first, but after Ikki defeats all of Kurashiki's men, his sword, Orochimaru, suddenly appears and Kurashiki grabs it. When Ikki draws his sword, Kurashiki dashes and fights one-on-one with Ikki. Ikki discovers in the middle of the fight that Kurashiki has a faster reflex movement giving Kurashiki an advantage when hitting Ikki. Since Kurashiki's rampage has increased, Ikki's foot slips, and he is struck by Kurashiki's sword. Ikki's wound doesn't stop him from fighting, so he continues the duel. Unfortunately, Kurashiki causes significant damage to Ikki, and Iase wishes to end the fight because it reminds her of her father's fight with Kurashiki, which hurts her internally. Unsurprisingly, Stella doesn't allow Iase to stop, telling her that if she does, she will lose the dojo, and that Ikki is having fun and enjoying the fight, just like her father did. Iase then realizes that her father's apology at the end of the fight was to Kurashiki, for failing to execute his final move and collapsing in the middle of the fight. Kurashiki's powers begin to wane, so he performs his final noble art, Yamata no Orochi. Ikki dashes forward with his sword, employing Iase's father's secret technique, Tenaimuo, to attack Kurashiki. Finally, Ikki defeats Kurashiki, and restores the dojo to its former glory. As a result, Ikki turns over the dojo to Iase and his father. Kurono sends Ikki and Stella to a training camp, because they are two of the best candidates in school. Stella is initially extremely happy, believing she will now have time alone with Ikki. Unfortunately, Ikki and Stella are assigned to assist the student council in cleaning up the training field. After cleaning the entire training field, Stella insists on climbing the mountains with Ikki to see the waterfall, despite having a fever and not telling Ikki. Stella is unable to move due to a high fever in the middle of their journey. They were caught in a sudden storm and decided to seek shelter in an abandoned lodge. Stella's wet clothing raises her fever, so Ikki helps her strip down to her underwear. After Stella's undressed, she asks Ikki to do more, but he declines, because Ikki wants to do it after they're officially married. When Ikki and Stella stop for a rest at the lodge, they are attacked by a puppet user Blazer who controls golems. Suddenly, members of the student council appear and save them. Toka Tadu, the student council president, battles the golem Blazer and is defeated by Raikiri, her noble art. Meanwhile, Shizuku is informed that her next opponent will be Toka Tadu. Ikki and Stella are concerned about Shizuku after witnessing Toka's incredible power, but Shizuku remains calm and believes she can win the 7-Star Sword Art Festival. When Shizuku meets Toka, she draws her water sword, Yuashigure, and Toka draws her thunder sword, Narakami. Shizuku realizes as the battle progresses that Toka is faster and stronger than her, so she chooses a defensive weapon and long-range water. To gain a strategic advantage, Shizuku covers the arena in ice, but Toka can see through her attacks. Because Shizuku and Toka have equal strengths, Toka suddenly becomes more powerful than before, to the point where Shizuku cannot detect her attack. Shizuku is now at a disadvantage and is subjected to a barrage of attacks from Toka. Shizuku wants to go to the 7-Star Sword Art Festival with his brother, so she uses Byakuya Kekai to fill the arena with a thick mist, so Toka can't see him. Shizuku then unleashes her final attack, the Crimson Water Blade. Unfortunately, she uses Raikiri to slash back at Toka before she is slashed. As a result, Shizuku lost the battle. Alice, Ikki, and Stella come to see Shizuku when she awakens. Shizuku requests that everyone leave because she needs time alone now that she has lost the battle. Alice does not abandon her, but she encourages her to be strong, and her brother sees her until the very end of the battle. When Ikki and Stella walk together on the school grounds, they both secretly kiss, but a mysterious man photographs them kissing. The following day, Ikki and Stella are invited by student council to visit the children in the social welfare program. Ikki learns a lot about Toka's personality at the social welfare office, which differs from what he sees. Toka's strength comes from her ability to help others. Meanwhile, when Ikki and Stella make their way back home, Shizuku, Alice, and Kizukabe approach them and inform them that the Ethic Committee, which is controlled by the Kurogane family, created a scandal by photographing Stella and Ikki kissing on school grounds. Suddenly, the Ethic Committee, Akaza Mamoru, appears and invites Ikki to clarify the scandal. After that, Ikki is transferred to a special prison run by the Kurogane family, where Akaza and the other committees constantly interrogate Ikki. Ikki is also put in jail and forced to compete in selection matches while imprisoned. Despite the odds, Ikki keeps winning matches. When Ikki wins for the 16th time, he collapses, and his teacher, Yuri, slips him a lock of Stella's hair to remind him of his promise to join Stella in the 7-Star Sword Art Festival. After seeing this, Ikki requests to speak with his father, which is granted to everyone's surprise. When Ikki meets his father, he tells him to drop out of the selection process, because if he wins, he will cause unrest in his father's organization by inspiring those without magical abilities to aim higher. Ikki begins to cry, because he knows his father doesn't regard him as a failure, but his father lacks hope and refuses to acknowledge him. So, Ikki fights again until the 19th wins, at which point the ethics committee informs him that his final opponent in the selection matches will be Toka to do, and if he loses, he will have to give up his dream of becoming a magical knight. Stella trains every day, because she made a promise to Ikki to participate in the 7-Star Sword Art Festival, while Ikki appears lost after hearing his father's words. When the final school selection match arrives, all 12 contestants who have won 19 times will compete in 6 different arenas. The final match is interesting, because it will be televised around the world. Because everyone is anticipating Ikki and Toka's final match, Akaza joins the final match to watch Ikki and Toka's match. Akaza also informs them that Ikki does not join his car, but that he wishes for Ikki to be disqualified if he doesn't appear in the arena within the next 15 minutes. Meanwhile, Ikki continues to flee the prison for the final school selection match, despite his weak body and self-doubt. Ikki uses all of his strength to reach a light ahead and escape the darkness. Shizuku hugs Ikki and tells him she won't let him fight because of his weak body and the strength of Toka. But, because Shizuku sees Ikki always smiling at school and has many friends who support him, she encourages him to do what makes him happy. Stella and Alice also win their final matches and earn a spot in the 7 Stars Battle Festival. Since then, Ikki has realized his purpose again and arrives at the arena on time, cheered on by everyone at Heigun Academy. Toka and Ikki are both excited to meet each other in the arena, because they have wanted to do battle since their first meeting. Because Ikki doesn't want to waste time, he immediately uses Ito Shura, which surprises the audience, because they expect Ikki to do something risky. Stella, on the other hand, believes Ikki has a different plan, which is to approach Toka directly and throw everything at her. When Toka notices Ikki activating his Ito Shura, she immediately activates her Raikiri. When Ikki encounters Toka, he employs the 7th secret sword, Reiko. Toka, on the other hand, is enraged by Raikiri's power over Ikki. Ikki knows he's no match for Toka's Raikiri, so he pushes his limit at the last second to defeat her. Toka's sword is suddenly broken by Ikki's single sword blow, and she collapses. So, Ikki wins the final match. Ikki has reached his breaking point, but he refuses to collapse because he wants to tell Stella. Refusing to accept the outcome of the match, Akaza attempts to attack Ikki, but Stella runs to his aid and easily knocks Akaza off. Stella immediately hugs Ikki when he begins to fall, and Ikki feels her love and warmth. Following that, Ikki stands up and asks Stella to be a part of his future family. Stella happily declares that she will be Ikki's bride and kisses him in front of the entire world. The Emperor of Vermillion then calls Ikki's father and advises him not to burden their children with their parents' political goals. So, the next day, a ceremony honors the school's 6 representatives for the 7-Star Sword Arts Festival, which are Kanata Totokobra, Kikyo Hagyur, Boten Hagyur, Nagi Arijuan, Stella Vermillion, and Ikki Kurogane. Toka Tadu, as the former leader, announces that Ikki will be the new leader, and hands him the flag. Ikki later discusses his proposal with Stella after the ceremony, but Shizuku and Alice arrive before anything can happen. Shizuku then makes up new rules to teach Stella how to become a Kurogane bride. That's a wrap. Thank you for watching.